All right, welcome everyone to episode number 169 here in the Passport to Growth. My name is Rich Lohman. I'm remote today down in southwest Texas, and we've got Dave Rudine, Lee Lohman here for the Passport to Growth teaching call. How are you guys today?
Bueno.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Lee does not have a backdrop. Dave is bueno and got the standard backdrop, and I am sitting because when you're in Texas, you sit on a saddle seat, and I truly am sitting in a chair that is a saddle. So I'm going to probably throw out a y'all here and there and have fun with this lesson on self-esteem. So how are y'all doing today? Is already got done. Dave, get us started. When you think about self-esteem, where do you naturally go?
I think I go to two things. I go to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about valuing, the idea of valuing people. I mean, it's a recurring theme that we keep talking about, but to value other people, you have to, there's the idea of respect. We're talking about respecting other people. You got to respect yourself, and that self-worth, that self-esteem. And then the other thing is I just go through our repeated conversation about why people have low self-esteem. Oftentimes is because it goes back to the beliefs that were drilled into them when they were little, and some people just never get out of that. They never grow past that, where they have put enough new value in there to replace the old. And so they're still stuck on that old paradigm. And that just seems to come up so many times and in so many ways. And even as we talk about here, I think about how it impacts, it shows up. I think self-esteem or lack of it shows up so often in the way people act, in the way they treat other people, in the way they interact. And you can kind of tell, it kind of gives you a little bit of sympathy, empathy, maybe, for people when you're like, oh, I can see, like, you poor person. Yeah. I can tell you're hurt inside,
Yeah, it's evident and obvious when there's a person that has low self-esteem. You can see it, and it's painful sometimes to really see it. Yeah. Lee, what are your thoughts? Get your flow and mojo going on this lesson from how you see this lesson?
I think this is probably one of the most important lessons that we can teach, not only for ourselves, because it's always a good reminder of where we're at and where we need to go, but a lot of times in our coaching sessions, we hear how everyone the majority of us need to stop with the negative self-talk. And I think that's what builds whether we have a good self-esteem or a low self-esteem.
Yeah. I
think it starts with reflection, to be completely honest, to assess where we're at and to say to ourselves, maybe even if you took a journal out or something and said the question of, how do I feel about who I am?
Yeah.
Really honestly answer that question, because you can't make any forward progress until you know where you're beginning. And sometimes we don't know how much of I guess it would be a negative mindset, but how much negativity is going on in our own heads, that if we don't stop and pay attention to it and find a beginning point, then we don't know, we can't move forward off from it.
Yeah, I really
so
like
much of, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's so much of this that you see, because we have in our lives, between the three of us, a lot of teenagers. Mm-hmm. I think that it's not where it begins, but it's where it shows up a lot of times to begin with. And so, if we can help the next generation try to figure out how to do that, maybe they won't have to be 44 before they figure out that they're not so bad, or whatever. But.
Right. And so much, you just spoke into one of the things that moved Dave significantly Dave, you and I have talked a lot about this. I think even in the B-roll, you hinted at it a little bit yet again, but Lee, you're talking about somebody that has clarity, and clarity being a habit that we can develop on a daily basis. Who am I trying to be for self, and who am I trying to be for other people? And if we have, and I really like in the notes, what resonated with me is healthy, pardon me, healthy self-esteem and unhealthy self-esteem as a breakout point. Because if we could, create a out-of-body ledger of what we think healthy is and what unhealthy is, and we stick to the healthy, we generate clarity in our life.
Mhm.
So, I really like where you guys get it started. Right out of the gate, this has the biggest impact, the single biggest impact, self-esteem, on our performance and our behaviors towards difficult situations than anything else in life. That's
Mhm.
why I think you're right, Lee. I think this is, a powerful lesson that really needs to, be listened to, thought out, heard from others.
Yeah, I haven't fully thought this through. That's going to come out of my mouth here, but this idea is that who we are is like we are our greatest resource. Like if you envision like our lives and everything that we are, everything that we do, everything that we're good at, bad at, like our life is a tool. It's a resource, and there's some people that I think just treat that tool like it's there's no value to it. And so they're kind of like, I got this thing, and I just think, man, if we don't value ourselves and hold ourselves in high regard, it's not being arrogant. There's a balance to all this, but it's like what you said, Rich. Healthy self-esteem is when we are able to assess ourselves accurately,
Right.
recognizing our strengths and our weaknesses, and saying this is who we are. But when you hold all those things in high regard, I think it makes you a powerful force out in this world. I just don't know how else to say that, but I think that's what breaks my heart when I see people with low self-esteem. It's kind of like they're just like, yeah, I got this, I don't know. Can you do something with this? Instead of saying, here I am, like I'm ready to, I've got good things, I got bad things, I got strengths, I got weaknesses, but take me, use me,
Right. It's interesting, two parts to the conversation, because a healthy regard for self is, are you treating your body right? And then are you treating your emotional capacities and the esteem capacity, like the value that we hold inside of ourselves?
Yeah, it's a stewardship issue. That's what you say, like stewardship of physically, mentally, spiritually, relationally, and all those things, emotionally, all that stuff inside of you. How are you treating it? What are you doing with it?
Right.
And as we've talked about it, that if we don't hold ourselves in high value, rest assured the world will not raise the price. Like they're not going to say, oh no. So I think it's up to us. It's on us to build that and to be appreciative and grateful, live with gratitude. I think that of our strengths and who we are. So
Speaking of physical, I remember a quote that I read one time from Valerie Bertinelli, and she was talking about all this weight that she had lost and the journey that she had gone on. And she said, you know what, I really love pizza, but I love myself more. So I can't eat pizza all the time because I love myself more. And I love myself enough to know when I should or shouldn't put things like pizza in my body. And it just that, I don't know why that's always stuck with me, but I've said it a number of times because I have a couple of people in my life who are like, well, I want what I want when I want it, and I don't know why I'm fat. And I can't say that because I wouldn't call someone fat, but that's the statement that's been said to me. And I'm like, wow, Valerie Bertinelli says, I love pizza, but I love myself more. You have to love yourself more than whatever it is that is a short-term fix to have a long-term goal. But
and so when you see people that you look at them and you're like, oh, look like they just gave up. They just gave up. And it's the George. We haven't talked about TV shows in a long time, but it's the George Costanza on Seinfeld of just that's just like, oh, wearing sweatpants all the time. Like, I just gave up, like that it's that image. And when you see that, that's what, again, it breaks my heart is, no, you've got value. You don't have to be a fitness guru, but you still
Right.
be a good steward of yourself. Take care of yourself because you've got so much value there.
Right. Well, and some of the underlying, okay, so why don't people see the value? Like, when they feel inadequate, I really think it comes from two specific areas. It's the self-talk that you were saying early on, Lee. So often I'm sitting here, in Texas today, and yesterday we did a full day workshop, and 4 people agreed and committed to 6 months of walking around with a journal, taking the negative self-talk to the positive I am statements and reading the I am statements twice a day, because each of them felt like they were inferior, inadequate. And the second part of like, where does inadequacy come from? Some of it's your own talk, but some of it's comparison to other people. And when we spend so much time comparing ourselves, now, like, it's on overdrive. John Maxwell talks about, what is fast forward now is faster shorter. When we consume social media, we see the highlight reel of everybody's life. And we then say, I'm not very good because my life isn't as good as theirs and theirs and theirs, even though everybody's life is a mess. So that comparison of to somebody else, all of a sudden, now it's a vicious cycle of bad, inadequate self-esteem and comparison to what's not real. It's not reality.
I just taught this yesterday, the comparison gap, and that keeps us from growing. And the truth of the matter is that, yes, there will always be somebody ahead of you, right? But there's always somebody behind you looking to you saying, why can't it be more like him?
Right.
So quit that game, because there's always going to be somebody in front, always going to be somebody behind you. And so just focus on yourself and
Stay in your lane. Yeah.
Stay in your lane and value yourself. Yeah.
Well, similar.
And we give too much, we give too much credit to what, like, Brene Brown would say, is the people in the cheap seats. So he wants to have an opinion of what we've got going on without all of the information. And they're not somebody who has been in, to quote her again, in the arena doing the exact same thing that we are, but we're taking their opinion as if it's written in the Bible, and we're allowing it to be the role that we play in our head on a constant basis. And that's just, I don't understand that. And I'm not saying I don't do it myself, but I don't understand why we give so much value to, what some person who doesn't even really know us, know our situation, know anything might have as far as an assumptive opinion about what might be going on in our lives. We give them more value than someone who loves us and speaks truth into who we actually are. That there needs to be a flip-flop in that, in my opinion.
So you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, the cheap seats devalue us from the real value that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we can go back to neutral, we all agree we all have some sort of value. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. We're all fighting a similar battle, but we all have some sort of value. And, nobody's the exact same. Like, that's why DISC is so important, is because it tells you what value you have, separate from all the self-talk, all the cheap seats, all the everything. It's a piece of paper that you can look at and read and say, oh my gosh, I agree with this. This says I'm good and I am good.
Right. And recognizing the mistakes, the negative, the flaws and the failures that we have too, but it's not fixating on those. It's not, I think people that get caught in this low self-esteem cycle is they're fixating on just the negative, and they're disregarding all the positive, So it's not saying that you forget about the negative. It's just, you got to keep them both. You celebrate the victories, you forgive the mistakes, and you develop those things that you're good at, and you focus on that. I think that's the pathway forward if somebody is struggling with self-esteem.
Right.
I think something I've seen in both of our daughters, which surprises me at the age, because you would think that I mean, not that they don't have a lot of insecurities and, moments of low self-esteem, but they do both have a very good ability of laughing at themselves.
Yeah.
And they do something or they say something and it's might not be the brightest thing that ever came out of their mouths. They are very good at, laughing it off and being silly about it. And I really appreciate that about them because they're both amazing young women. And I just hope that they retain that quality throughout their lives so that, because the older you get, as we all know, the more chances we have to laugh at ourselves for doing silly stuff.
Indeed. All right, so let's segue into the benefits. Lee, you can get us started, but let's share some of the benefits of growing in this area of self-esteem.
Number one, you will feel happy and secure within yourself. This will help you move beyond self-limiting beliefs and grow toward your potential.
Yeah.
How many times have we told ourselves that we can't do something? And then we're forced into a situation where then we have to do it. And then it's like, oh my gosh, it really wasn't that difficult. And, if we pay attention to those kinds of situations, then after a while, I hope that it comes as the dialogue in our head that I can do that. I just proved to myself that I could do hard things. So I'm going to try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's significant. And it obviously, it leads to number two, because if you can feel happy and secure with yourself, then number two is you will develop healthy relationships. Again, that goes back to what you were saying, Dave, about what we've really been, kind of beating a drum on of it's healthy self-respect and healthy respect of others builds relationship with people. You won't be defensive. You won't be petty. And again, anytime I see now that we're into this lesson, anytime I hope everybody sees it, when somebody is defensive or somebody is petty on social media, then you should see self-esteem, you should see inadequacy, because they're portraying maybe a little bit of what's inside of them. And that's why the empathy and the heart breaks for people, right?
Yeah, I think the other value to the benefit for relationships is you can't have a good relationship with somebody else. I've talked about this in terms of marriage. You can't have a good marriage if you're dependent on that other person to be your source of esteem. You have to be healthy in yourself. You have to be strong in yourself so that you can be a part of a good relationship. If you're dependent on somebody else, it's not fair. It's not right. That's not healthy. So.
And also with that, one more thing is when you're in good relationships, healthy relationships, there are good boundaries in place. So like, you don't allow somebody to walk all over you, because if you're allowing somebody to walk all over you, that means you don't value yourself enough to put up a boundary and stand up for yourself.
Sure.
So, again, like what you said, you can't rely on somebody else, but you have to rely on your ability to put up good boundaries so that people don't walk all over you, because there are some personalities that might do that.
Right.
So,
number three, I think it seems it's natural that you have high self-esteem, you develop a healthy confidence, you shoulders back, chest out a little bit, chins up, and you just kind of feel like, hey, I can do this. I can go forward. And isn't that, when we talk about our kids, isn't that what you want in your kids? You want them to be confident and to feel secure in themselves. Even when it comes to, I think this is when we talk about hope strategy, this is that willpower. This is that agency that says, I've got the confidence to get there. No matter what's going to happen, I'm going to stick with it. I believe that I can get to where I need to go. And that's a mental thing. That's your self-talk and your thinking and all those things that we talk about.
Yeah.
Which leads perfectly into number 4.
Yeah.
Will experience more success when you're more secure, when you have healthier relationships, when you have healthier confidence. Like, that's just the natural progression of events, is that you're going to experience more success because you'll be able to be confident enough in yourself and your problem solving skills, and I can do this and all of that. And so just naturally success will follow.
Yeah. And as success follows, again, I love the cascading effect of these benefits. As success follows, then you will then, success breeds success. It's called the law of momentum from John. You'll start to be more ambitious with your pursuit of trying new things and going after, things that you once didn't believe that you were capable of doing. Whereas people that stay in low self-esteem have little to no ambition. They're trying to protect what they have,
Right.
and just, okay, nobody mess with my bubble and nobody says something bad to me, I'll be okay. But people with high self-esteem, the ambition goes through the roof.
They're the George Costanzas of the world that keep their sweatpants on and give up.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Why even try? Why even try?
Okay, Dave.
That sounds so foreign, Dave. That's so
All right. All right. So here's some characteristics to look for somebody with that lives out the value of self-esteem. Number one is these people feel confident in their abilities and in their decisions. That it's what we just talked about. That's the benefit, and this is what you see in those people is again, shoulders back, chest out, chin up. They look in the eye, they're confident, they shake with a firm handshake, like that, just that type of a thing. And they know what their strengths are, they know what they can do, they know what their value is. Isn't that so telling when somebody goes into a meeting and you can just tell they know what they bring to the table. They know the value that they bring. And and again, with everything, there's balance. You don't want to be overconfident, don't want to be cocky, you don't want to be arrogant. But there is that sense of understanding what you're worth. And I think, oh man, so many people just don't get that. They don't understand what their worth is, what their value is.
I taught a little bit on this yesterday. I want to share this. The 7 habits of highly effective people. Habit number 4 is create win-win. And that's what you're saying is the healthy balance of I win and you win. And first I'll say there are some people that are so competitive. They're a minority, but they're so competitive that they say, no, it's not win-win. It's I win, you lose. It's got to be that framework. And unfortunately, that's bad for all the people that are losing because you destroy relationships. But the one that you're talking about that I think is very detrimental is the one that's lose-win as a habit. And it's because they don't have good self-esteem. They say, okay, fine, you win, I'll lose. That's not, healthy. So it is stop letting people control you and stand up for the value you bring to a situation. So, Lee, number 2.
These people are open to receiving feedback and learning. So this is where we go. We talked about being defensive and petty earlier. If you are either one of those things, then you don't want someone to give you constructive criticism or any feedback on how something you've done or said either affected them or, their perception of it. But the more that we can do that and be open to those things, the more growth we'll experience and the better off we'll be in the end.
Yeah, because I think where this goes to for me is that people with self-esteem are not defined. They don't allow themselves to be defined by their mistakes or by their failures. So they're willing to take those in because they're like, okay, I can accept that's a part of me, but that's not who I am. Like I'm not defined by this failure. So yeah, give me feedback. Let me learn from that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Number 3 is these people have realistic expectations for themselves and for others, where we don't expect more of somebody than we're supposed to, like have unrealistic expectations, and also don't judge them or judge ourselves, too harshly. Just be realistic. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of people based on their esteem, their beliefs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 4 is they're not, this is a big one, as we've been talking about social media and stuff, not easily offended. Boy, we live in a world where people are offended at every stinking thing. And that's why I look at, you just look all around you. And I think that people, it is revealing that they are dealing with low self-esteem because they're finding that identity in other people. They're looking for their value in other people and what they say or what they don't say. And they're not confident enough in themselves to just let stuff kind of go past them. They just are absorbing all those things in. So I think the quality of a person with high self-esteem is you can hear feedback, you can hear negativity, and kind of let it go past you a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a thing that I say to myself when a situation like that comes up. If someone says something to me and I'm trying not to get offended by it, like I just can't care about that. Like
Yeah.
take up headspace. I cannot
There
care.
you go. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Number 5, these people are authentic. They do not change who they are in order to try to impress someone or try to fit in. We have all experienced that person that we're sitting there like, who are you? Because you're not like that, you know, if it's just the two of us or whatnot. So don't put on a show. Just be you and be okay being whatever version of you are, but just,
yeah, be comfortable in your skin. I've always liked that phrase. Like, I'm comfortable in my skin.
Last night I was at dinner with a bunch of the leaders from this facility that I'm with, and Natalie's husband, he's been a youth pastor for 20 years. And I asked, okay, I don't know Lubbock, Texas very well. Like, how many youth come to you? How's it going? Because Lee, you and I know that we used to see Zach at All Shores Wesleyan, and Zach had a great following, but the youth program is very neglected right now, is the best way I could say it. And he said, as long as you're an authentic person with these kids, you can connect with them. So going back to it, that's somebody that had a healthy self-esteem.
Yeah.
And he realized he just needed to be authentic and really just try to just connect with kids. You don't have to try to impress them. You don't have to try to be their boss. You don't have to try to be somebody that, they see right through it, even as kids. So I think that authenticity goes a long way to growing your influence and having a lot of success with others.
Yeah,
definitely.
And then number 6 is these people do not find their worth in other people's opinions of them. Dave, you said that already. That's it. Like,
yeah,
marriages, work relationships, father, son, father, daughter, mother, daughter, mother, son, like none of it should we look for our worth in somebody else's opinion of us.
yeah. Don't look for, you don't find your worth in, you're not defined by mistakes, and you're not defined by other people, other people's opinion. You're defined by how God has created you and what your inherent value is, just by nature of you being you. I think it's getting comfortable in that. That's key.
Yeah. So
Rachel Hollis isn't really she's not really a thing anymore, but she used to, and I'm not trying to discount her at all.
I know.
You don't see her anymore. But she used to say other people's opinions are none of your business.
Yeah.
And and I always liked that statement. Moving
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
But and that's where you have to get to when you hear that, like, I can't care about that. I can't care about that. That's none of my business.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the time where we challenge our tribe, we challenge ourselves to take steps to follow, to really put a plan of action to growth in place. So let's briefly share the 6 steps to follow, and people that are listening to this can grab a hold of one of them, more than one of them, and go after growth. Lee, you're first.
So the first one, I'm glad that I get this one, because it's be your own best friend. And I have said on these teachings a couple of different times that, like, you can't say or have higher expectations of yourself than you would of your best friend. Like, I can't be nicer to her and show her grace that I don't give to myself. So be your own best friend and talk to yourself as if you were speaking to another person in your life that you care for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. And I appreciate that you got to use it, because I have heard you use that several times. I'll do number 2, because I think it's something that we truly do all sometimes maybe get challenged by. And it is a sign of our self-esteem, but accept compliments.
Yeah.
Too often when you receive a compliment and you try to brush it off, it's actually to say, no, I'm not worth the praise that you gave. And you should be saying inside of you, I am worth the praise. Thank you very much. And that's something that we all have to work on, I think.
Yeah, I would have never thought this was a lesson, but I learned it in college, and I had a college professor that used to say that, hey, when you're teaching and you're doing something, somebody comes up and says, hey, that was a great message. And your tendency is, I'm just a humble servant. I'm here to just kind of help and all that. But his thing was, there's something just not right about it. Like, you just need to learn how to just say thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it was helpful to you.
Yeah.
And I've tried to teach that to my kids, like, learn how to accept the compliment, because I think what that does for your self-esteem, I think that's a great little step that has significant impact to it. So number 3 is be the best you that you can be. And now I sound like a
Rich Lohman.
bumper
You sound like
sticker,
Rich Lohman.
something, I don't know. Be the best you. But I think
Be the best damn version of you.
Yeah, exactly. But this goes back to the comparison thing. Don't look at other people. Look at yourself. Don't measure by where other people are. Are you being the best you that you can be?
Yeah.
And I pick on you in jest. I'm just teasing, because when you say that to people, it is the truth. I do you, and you're not wrong. Number 4 is focus on what you can affect.
Yep.
It's not something that you can control, not something that you can change. It should not get a lot of your attention or your focus.
Yeah. Completely agree. Number 5 is do something for somebody else. And there's a healthy balance to this, because there's a lot of people that's all they do is do for other people, and they don't do for themselves. So I'll caution, don't pick this one if you're the type of person that's always doing it. If you're the person that's always doing something for somebody else, I want you to do something for yourself. But there are 3 other personality types that are not start with an S, that need to spend more time doing stuff for other people, because that's not necessarily their MO. So if that's for you, go for it.
All right. And then the last one is, maybe what you need to do is learn from your mistakes and then move on. Take the gold out of the lesson, out of the experience, and then put it in your little basket and move to the next tree. Move along. Take that with you. And I think the mistakes, and recognizing those mistakes, it's not about camping out and living in that. It's about pulling that lesson and moving forward to the new thing. And I think that's, for some, that may be a great next step for you, is maybe you camp out too much on your mistakes and focus too much on the negativity. Learn from it and move on.
Amen.
You need a physical reminder there. I don't remember which book it was in, but Bob Goff talks about how he was trying to grow his patience, not necessarily focusing on his mistakes or his good things, but he was trying to grow his patience. So he walked around physically with what he called a bucket of patience. So there was nothing in it, but it was a bucket, and he carried it around because it was a physical reminder of the fact that he needed to be more patient. So if you are somebody who constantly focuses on your mistakes, like Dave said, pull the nugget out of it, put it in your actual bucket and carry it around with you, because pretty soon you won't want to look like a goofball carrying your bucket around, and you'll start on what you need to focus on.
So I'm thinking with that, you go first. I want to watch you do it. I don't want to do it. All right. Well, great to really bat around a very important topic with you guys, and share with our tribe, share with the world. So I say thank you, and I can't wait to see what people have to say about this. Again, needle moving, single lesson. There's no more significant lesson than taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, guys. Have a great day, and I'll be flying home tonight, Lee. I miss you.
Yay.
See you guys.